Welcome everyone to another lecture of botany. Here in the previous classes we have discussed about different groups of protista, that is we have discussed Chrysophyta, we have discussed dinoflagellates, we have even discussed slime molds. In today's class we will discuss about another group, that is Euglanoids. We will discuss about another group, that is Euglanoids. We will take an example of Euglena from this. We will take an example of Euglena. Euglena is found in fresh water. Euglena is a freshwater organism, that is it is found in fresh water, not in marine water. So, Euglena is a freshwater organism. This Euglena, it exhibits few characteristics which are of plant-like and few characters which are animal-like. It exhibits characters like from animals as well as it exhibits characters from plants, not all characters, few characters from plants, few characters from animals. For example, presence of chloroplast and chlorophyll. We find this chloroplast and chlorophyll only in plants. So, here in this Euglena, we find chloroplast as well as chlorophyll. The chloroplast will be with chlorophyll pigment. So, it is a plant-like character which is present in Euglena. And animal-like character, in that we have discussed that animals lack cell wall. All plants have cell wall and all animals lack cell wall. There is absence of cell wall in animals. But here in this Euglena, cell wall is absent. In Euglena, cell wall is absent. So, it is animal-like character. Absence of cell wall, it is animal-like character. Presence of chloroplast with chlorophyll pigment, it is a plant-like character. So, that is why we say these Euglena, they possess few plant-like characters and few animal-like characters, and because of this property, here they are called as the connecting link between plants and animals. They are called as the connecting link between plants and animals. Why they are called as connecting link? Because it shows few plant-like characters, that is presence of chloroplast with chlorophyll, and it shows few animal-like characters, that is absence of cell wall. This absence of cell wall is animal-like character. This presence of chloroplast with pigment, it is a plant-like character. So, that is why Euglanoids or the Euglena is said to be a connecting link between plants and animals. In this, when we were taking certain characteristics, Whittaker's characteristics while describing the or grouping the organisms into different groups, we said that in protista, few organisms will have cell wall, that is few organisms will have cell wall and few will not have cell wall. In protista, first group we have discussed is Chrysophyta. Chrysophytes were having cell wall with silica deposition. Next group we discussed is dinoflagellates. They were also having cell wall which was made up of cellulose, cell wall made up of cellulose. In third group we discussed about slime molds. First two, Chrysophytes and dinoflagellates, they were having cell wall. Now in the third group, slime molds, we discussed there was no cell wall, absence of cell wall. Now the fourth group, that is Euglanoids, here also cell wall is absent. So that is why when describing the characteristics or when describing the cell wall, individual characteristic, that is cell wall, we said few protists have cell wall and few protists does not have cell wall. So here is the reason. Now this one, it is a connecting link, this Euglena is a connecting link between plants and animals. Apart from this, now this Euglena will have flagella. Euglena will have flagella. One or two flagella will be present on the anterior side of the body. Here this Euglena will have two flagella. This is the anterior side and this is the posterior side. at the anterior side na flagella, two flagella arises. One will be smaller one. One will be smaller one. It is inside the, and one will be larger one. One will be larger one which will be coming outside. This is the mouth. This is the mouth or cytostome. This is the mouth or cytostome. This is the passage, that is cytopharynx. Cytopharynx. This is the mouth or cytostome. This passage is called as cytopharynx, or together we call it as gullet. Gullet. This hole is the gullet. Here at the base, this is called as the reservoir. This is the reservoir. Cytostome, cytopharynx, that is passage, and the space is called as the reservoir. So in this gullet na, from this na, a small flagella arises. It will be very small. It will be inside this gullet itself. It does not come outside the gullet. Small flagella and one long flagella. Euglena consists of two flagella. One is small flagella which is inside the gullet itself. It is very small and it is inside itself. It is not coming out. And one another flagella, that is larger one. It comes out. It comes out of the body. So two flagella, one long and one small at the anterior side. At the anterior side. This one, the small flagella. The smaller flagella, when it moves, when the smaller flagella moves na, this one, the smaller flagella, when it moves, it creates a whirling motion, rotating motion. It creates a whirlpool. It creates a whirlpool like this. Now when it creates the whirlpool, when this flagella moves, it creates whirlpool, and whatever the particles, small particles are there around in the atmosphere. Because of this whirlpool movement, all the particles or the few particles can enter inside. The few particles, because of the whirling movement or rotating movement, few particles comes inside, comes in front. That particles will be engulfed by euglena. That particles will be engulfed by euglena. The smaller flagella, when it moves, rotates, it creates a whirlpool motion. Because of the whirlpool na, here whatever small particles are there in the surroundings, they all gather near this one. They all gather near this. When they are near this na, from this mouth or the cytostome, this euglena engulf those particles as food. Euglena engulfs those particles as food. That is because of the smaller flagella. And this bigger flagella, long flagella, this helps in movement and swimming. And this small flagella, it creates a whirling motion. Creates whirling motion which helps in engulfing food particles. Because of the whirling motion, food particles come near it, and those particles will be engulfed, directly swallowed by euglena because of this movement. Now here, that is cytostome, cytopharynx, this whole reservoir together is gullet. Here one small flagella comes out, one long flagella comes out, and apart from this we said chloroplast. These are the chloroplast, elongated chloroplast. These are the elongated chloroplast with chlorophyll. Now near this reservoir we see a dark red spot. Near this reservoir we see a dark red spot. This dark red spot is called as eye spot. Eye spot or stigma. This one, near the reservoir or the gullet, here a dark red spot will be present. This dark red spot is eye spot or stigma. This one. Near the base of the gullet, a red colored structure called eye spot or stigma will be present. Now this plays a very important role. The stigma or the eye spot is light sensitive. It is light sensitive. It perceives the sunlight. We said now Euglena has few animal like characteristics, that is it has chloroplast with chlorophyll. So when it has chloroplast with chlorophyll now, it is able to prepare their own food. So along with chloroplast and this chlorophyll, they also require sunlight. So for trapping that sunlight, for perceiving the sunlight now, the Euglena has a spot or the structure near the reservoir that is called as eye spot or stigma. It detects the light from where it is coming, from where the light is coming, from which direction light is coming. It detects the light and perceives the light, and when it detects the light, now the Euglena will be moving in that direction of the light. The Euglena will, it detects the light and organisms move or swim towards the light. From which direction light is coming now, the Euglena will move in that direction. So this one, this eye spot or stigma near the reservoir, it is a light sensitive spot. It is a light sensitive spot which perceives and detects the light, and because of the detection of the light, the Euglena will swim in the direction of the light. So when it swims in the direction of the light, it traps the sunlight. This eye spot traps the sunlight, and with the help of the sunlight, it traps sunlight, and with the help of the sunlight and this chloroplast with chlorophyll, this Euglena will be able to prepare its own food. The Euglena will be able to prepare its own food. That is how it is sometimes acting as a autotrophic, that is it exhibit plant like character. And sometimes when there is no light, when there is absence of sunlight, in the absence of sunlight, Euglena does not prepare its own food. In the absence of sunlight now, it engulfs the particles. I already said you, smaller flagella, it moves inside, and the movement of flagella inside producing a whirling movement, and because of that whirling movement, all the particles which are come near this cytostome, and when they come near the cytostome engulfs those particles as food material, because when light is not there, they cannot produce their own food. So when they doesn't produce their own food, they engulf the particles around them. They engulf the particles around them as the food. So they behave as animals, that is by depending on the surrounding for the food, and sometimes they behave as plants, that is when sunlight is there, they can prepare their own food. Plant like character because of the presence of chlorophyll, and when sunlight is not there, they engulf, they show holozoic mode of nutrition. Holozoic heterotrophic, and in that heterotrophic they show holozoic, that is engulfing. They are heterotrophic, means they does not prepare their own food. So how, when they doesn't prepare their own food, they take the food from surroundings. So they are taking the food from surroundings by engulfing, directly swallowing the particles. So such type of nutrition is called as Holozoic nutrition. So when sunlight is there, it shows phototrophic nutrition, autotrophic, photoautotrophic organism it acts as, and it shows autotrophic nutrition. And when sunlight is absent, it engulfs the food particles. So it shows Holozoic nutrition in the absence of sunlight. So it can survive in both conditions, during the presence of sunlight as well as in the absence of sunlight. So, apart from this, now here as we said, it is a it is a eukaryotic cell. So, nucleus will be present, this is the nucleus, nucleus will be present, cytoplasm will be present, and here mitochondria, endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi complex, all this substance, all this will be present, all organelles will be present, cytoplasm, Golgi complex, mitochondria, nucleus, all the organelles are present. And here it also has contractile vacuole, It has stored reserve food materials, that is in the form of, here in cytoplasm storage particles or the reserve food materials is present, that is called as paramylum. So, it is nothing but combination of carbohydrates and polysaccharides. It is different from starch and glycogen. It is a different type, but it is made up of carbohydrates and polysaccharides, and that reserved or stored particles are called as paramylum. These are the stored particles, these blue ones, these are the stored particles. These are stored particles. So, now with this, and apart from this, one more important thing, we said that cell wall is absent. Here cell wall is absent, here a membrane is present. This is the membrane, membrane is present, and this membrane is called as pellicle. This membrane is called as pellicle. Pellicle is a flexible membrane. It is flexible membrane. It is not like as a plasma membrane. It is not either, it is neither cell wall, it is neither a plasma membrane, because in plasma membrane along with proteins we also have phospholipids. Here there is no phospholipids. There is no phospholipids. This pellicle is a layer or membrane which is made up of only proteins. So, here the body of Euglena is surrounded by a flexible membrane. That flexible membrane is called as pellicle. It is called as pellicle. It is made up of only proteins. There is no cellulose, there is no polysaccharides, nothing. It is made up of only proteins. So, no cell wall, no, not like even plasma membrane, a different type of flexible membrane is there which is called as the pellicle. So, that is why absence of cell wall. Instead of cell wall or plasma membrane, we have this pellicle membrane which is flexible and only made up of proteins. Only made up of proteins. So, now this reproduction, we have discussed the structure, where they are found, how they take the nutrition. Now, next we will see how reproduction takes place in this Euglena. Reproduction is by asexual mode of nutrition. Most of the time the organisms, or the most common method of reproduction is asexual reproduction by binary fission. Here longitudinal binary fission. Longitudinal binary fission. So, one organism will split into two organisms longitudinally. One organism, binary fission is nothing but splitting of one organism into two. For example, this is one organism. So, this will split into two. This type of reproduction is called as the binary fission. So, now here it is splitting longitudinally. So, for example, here so like this one will be appearing and here one will be. At this time the body is one, but here this part is divided into two. This part is divided into two, body is still one. Now, after some time this will totally split and forms two Euglena. So, this is by longitudinal fission. Reproduction is by longitudinal fission. That is the most common method. Apart from this, they also perform sexual reproduction. In few cases, they also perform sexual reproduction. Apart from this, now they also undergo one stage called as Palmella stage. Palmella stage, where what happens is Euglena loses flagella. This Euglena loses flagella and becomes circular. Euglena loses flagella and becomes circular, and along that is this one, flagella is lost and this becomes circular, and along with it now a layer of mucilage will be formed. A layer of mucilage will be formed which will be protecting the Euglena during unfavorable conditions. When the conditions are unfavorable, this Euglena undergoes a stage called as Palmella stage. So, in this stage now this bacteria this Euglena protect itself. How it protect itself? It loses the flagella, and becomes circular in shape, and around this Euglena a layer of mucilage is formed. Mucilage layer is formed. So, because of this mucilage layer now, it is secure, protected inside. Even when the environment is adverse, it is protected inside by this mucilage layer. So, when the environment becomes favorable again, when the conditions are favorable again, this mucilage will be lost and the organism regain its shape as well as its flagella. During unfavorable conditions, flagella is lost and the shape becomes circular, and around the circular shape a layer of mucilage is formed. And when the conditions become favorable, this mucilage layer disappears, flagella reappears, and the shape also becomes like this. And but most of the most common method of reproduction is by asexual method, and that is by longitudinal binary fission. So, this was all about euglanoids, that is we have taken the example Euglena. It is found in fresh water, it exhibits few animal like characteristics, that is absence of cell wall, and it exhibits few plant like characters, that is presence of chloroplast along with chlorophyll. That is why it is called as the connecting link. At the anterior side, two flagella are present, one is large, one is small. Small flagella creates a whirlpool motion. Because of this, it engulfs the particles. It takes place when the sunlight is not available. So, this type of nutrition is called as Holozoic nutrition, and when sunlight is available, this stigma or the eye spot, it detects and perceives the light, and with the help of the light and this chloroplast, elongated chloroplast with chlorophyll, they produce their own food. So, apart from this, as it is eukaryotic, all the organelles will be present, and instead of cell wall or here a different membrane called as pellicle is present. So, this was about the group Euglanoids. One last group is left, that is protist. We will see in the next class.